Hey, Steve Basic Architect. Yeah, I am out at the New Age Estate. We have insulation going on. Yeah, one of the insulations that we're using Timber HP's Timber Bat. It's a wood fiber insulation. You can see there. They take the waste product from the forestry industry. They grind it up into fibers. They form it into these beautifully large bats, and then they cut it up, package it, send it out here, and we put it to work for the next 50 or 100 years. So anyways, we got that and a whole bunch of other insulation practices that we're doing in there. So why don't we head inside and we'll talk insulation. All right, so let's start in the basement. We'll talk a little bit about that insulation. So you can see here, our typical practice, we like to get 2 inches of closed cell on the wall before we bat insulate these frames. So understand also, this closed cell in my mind is the one that's doing all the work. It's impermeable, so it's keeping moisture at bay. It's in the foundation wall. We'll keep it in the foundation wall. We'll let it dry to the outside. Because of its impermeable nature, it cannot dry to the inside. We have 2 inches, roughly R13. That creates a nice warm surface here. So any moisture that happens to migrate into the wall here is never going to see dew point because of the elevated surface temperature on the inside face of that closed cell. So that's protecting us from any condensation. Now, the 3.5 inch bat, that's at your discretion. In some climates, if you're down maybe climate zone 3 or 4, maybe you're going to consider, hey, we don't need to do that. If you're in climate zone 6, you're probably most definitely going to do it. Here in climate zone 5, we typically do it, right? So R13, now we have that bat. And you can see we have all of the walls have been completed. They sprayed some open cell in the ceiling here. That is not for insulative purposes, it's for acoustical purposes. Likewise, this insulation here, these are all sound attenuation bats for acoustical purposes on the media room. Remember, this is that double wall. But over here, we'll take a walk and look at. So the insulation that we're actually insulating the basement walls with is the Johns Manville product. This is an R15. It's made for the 2x4 wall. It's a mineral wool product, and like I said, carries the R15. And you can see here, if I peel this back, you'll see there, in fact, is our 2 inches of closed cell, basically coming up to the edge of that 2x4. We never really want to fill this bay because I always want to give this the ability to dry out. This mineral wool is air permeable, right? So air can move through it if it has the opportunity. But because we're sealed on the backside and we're going to be sealed with the drywall, then we're going to enclose it just like the way it was tested in the laboratory. So we don't really have to worry about the fact that this is air permeable. We're actually using it as an asset rather than a liability, right? Because the air permeable nature of that insulation allows this stud frame to dry out should it ever need to. But that's basically our insulating practices in the basement. If I jump down here, you can see this is our media room. And remember, all of this in our past videos, go check them out, but it's all acoustically separated. We added some insulation in there to add to that. We have our double wall on the back side. We have our double wall here that you can take a peek down and notice we have insulation here and here, and then we have insulation here, which is the insulation on the wall over there. So we in fact have 2 acoustically insulated walls there, and of course our media room. So we can crank up that TV, crank up the speakers, relax in our chairs, and enjoy some great media. So let's jump upstairs and we'll continue the talk on insulation. All right, so now we're going to get upstairs here And you can see insulation has in fact been installed. They did a beautiful job cutting around, tight fitting here. And this is that, in fact, that Timber HP product. If I can pull this out a little, you'll see there's that beautiful 5.5 inch well insulated bat, and then we have our Zip R9 on the outside. So we in fact have at our center of cavity, let me just compliment their great installation job, we have R30 here. But remember, when you're talking about insulation, you have to account for the opaque area here, R6 plus the 9, R15. Our windows, as good as they are, they're still R7-ish. So they're a quarter of what the insulation value is on the center of the cavity. So when you normalize all of this, you're probably coming up in an R, I don't know, 15, 16 range, something like that. But it allows you to understand that when you're talking about insulation, if you're measuring the R value of the bat, it's not necessarily the R value of the wall. Let's take a quick walk around here, and you can see the guys have been hard at work. We have that bat insulation. Just did a really beautiful job around here. And then if we come in here, this is the away room. One of the things here, most of the house is going to get filled with a Timber HP loose blown insulation, but here we had a really shallow scissor truss, and to get that as a vented roof and to put in that insulation would have been a real challenge. So here we just opted to do a hot roof with the closed cell. So we have, I believe it's probably about 8 inches of closed cell insulation on the roof here. So that'll get us up in that R50-ish range. But we have our Timber HP, little dusty in here. We have our Timber HP bat here, and you can see the guys, this is green cocoon insulation. The general contractor here, Howell Custom Building Group, just doing a fabulous job. But let's take a walk upstairs and see what we got going on up there. All right, so making our way up to the second floor here. You can see this is very much like the first floor. Just a beautiful job by Green Cocoon. We have our pocket headers here, all well insulated. Brian did that as the general contractor, but you can see just how nice that wood fill fiber goes in. Just absolutely beautiful job here. You know, there are a couple places here. We've talked about this. We had a small piece of sloping roof because the homeowner, we moved this wall out during framing. So we had to address this issue. We just filled up on the inside of the vent. It's actually a vented roof system there where we have our baffles, those AccuAir or AccuVent baffles. And then we filled the inside of that with a closed cell bed. Yeah, that's doing a great job. Zip R9 everywhere. And then we'll poke our head in here because I'll show you this here. You can see we're looking down at the top side of our SIGA here. That is our air barrier. We obviously have the catwalk that Brian filled in. So the next level of insulation that we're going to do is we're going to blow, I believe it's 22 inches of settled attic insulation up here. And that's going to be a blown-in product. So that's the last bit of insulation. But that doesn't stop the sequencing of drywall. So the inside here, you know, we had to get that going because we want to keep the drywallers going. So drywallers can be up here hanging or downstairs hanging on the first floor, and the insulators can be up here blowing in the insulation in the attic ceiling. So, and of course the ceiling above us, there's nothing up there, no equipment. All the HVAC equipment is running around in the floor below us here. So it's going to make for a very good performing house. All mechanicals are inside. We have our bad insulation. We have our Zip R9 here, even though we have an attic on the other side. That is, in fact, outdoor space. That's why this window, or this door, I'm sorry, is an insulated, fully weather-stripped door. It's basically an exterior door. So, all right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that. If you're a subscriber, thank you for joining in. If you're not, smash that subscribe button. Go tell all your friends. There's some really cool things happening over here on Steve Baczek Architects channel. So until next time, you know the deal. Long live our buildings.